Kana Hobnobby relatives and BY Tahushka Hopi Miha. Hope everyone's having a great Sunday morning. I wanted to go ahead and jump back into the Delaware, Maryland family history. So let's get into it. So as you can see on the screen, we have the Remagen family. And it says Eliza Brumagem, born say 1692, was presented by the court of Anne Arundel County, Maryland, in August 1712 for having a mulatto bastard child. She confessed that a Negro man named James, belonging to Stephen Warman, was the father of the child. And the court ordered that she be sold for 7 years and bound her unnamed son to her master for 31 years. She was probably the ancestor of James, born say 1712. It says R. Brumager, head of a Baltimore City household of one other free in 1810. All right, next we got James Brumagem, born say 1712, was tried by the Frederick County, Virginia court on January 24th, 1746-47, for breaking into the house of Captain John Height and taking some gunpowder. He was found not guilty of felony, but found guilty of petty larceny and given 31 lashes. Made to stand in the pillory in order to post a bond of 40 pounds currency for his good behavior. He was called a mulatto on March 5th, 1746-47, when the court ordered that he receive 25 lashes for abusing Lawrence Stevens in a very ill manner. On March 6, 1746-47, the court ordered that the sheriff sell James goods, a horse, saddle, bridle, coat jacket, leather jacket, rifle, gunpowder horn, silver buckles, silver clasp, 3 axes, a cross-cut saw, and a handsaw for a debt of about 8 pounds. He owed John Height and Louis Stevens. His estate was attached to the debt again on August 7, 1747, June 7, 1748, and August 3, 1748. He died before September 6, 1748, when the court granted administration of his estate to Peter Toasty, his greatest creditor. He may have been the ancestor of Thomas Brumagem, born, say, 1740. And it says Thomas Brumagem, born, say, 1740, was indicted with Jane Clark for fornications by the Frederick County, Virginia court on September 7, 1762. Jane was discharged, but Thomas was ordered to pay a fine of 500 pounds of tobacco. Says, Richard Paris undertook to pay his fine. He was sued by William and Jane Phillips on November 5th, 1762, but the case was agreed before coming to trial. He was convicted of stealing a steer belonging to John Shearer on September 2nd, 1766, and chose to receive 39 lashes corporal punishment rather than be tried at the general court. Seth Dungeon sued him for 3 pounds, 10 shillings on October 8th, 1766. He may have been the father of. Says George Brumagem, born about 1758, enlisted in the Revolution while resident in Fairfax County, Virginia, on March 16, 1781. It says Bruma George, age 23, 5'8.5" inches high, yellow complexion, a tailor, born in Ostelia. It says George Brumagem was taxable in Frederick County, Virginia in 1787 and 1788. George Brumagem was taxable in Frederick County, Virginia in 1787 and 1788. All right, relatives, that was the Remagen family. Again, some good information there for your genealogy searches. We got birth dates, the actual county that they lived in Maryland. So definitely dig into this information. One other thing on this site here, when you see the links that they have here, because I always post this website in every video in the description. Take a look at these links here because I'm starting to find some really good information off of these links. And I'll get into some of that in a later video, what I'm finding. All right, let's keep it moving. Next, we have the Bryant family. We got Alice Bryan, born, say, 1681, confessed in King County, Delaware court in September 1699 that she had a bastard mulatto child by William Trippett's Negro man called Jack, and admitted that it was due to her own wicked inclinations. She received 39 lashes and was ordered to serve her master, Daniel Ruddy, an additional 2 years. The court bound her mulatto son, Peter, to Ruddy for 31 years. Later that year in December, she came into court and bound her 4-year-old illegitimate daughter, Elizabeth, no race indicated, to Ruddy for 18 years. Her children were Elizabeth, born April 1696, Peter, born in 1699, Sarah, born, say, 1701, a mulatto woman begotten on a white woman, convicted on by the Westmoreland County, Virginia court on January 26, 1708-09, of having a mulatto bastard child by a white man while serving her indenture to Mr. Westcomb. Then we got Mary, born, say, 1703. And it goes on to say that Mary Bryant, born, say, 1703, was the mulatto daughter of a free white woman, according to testimony by her daughter Daphne in Prince George's County Court on November 23rd, 1756. She was the mother of Daphne, born, say, 1720. Abigail, born, say, 1735. All right, let's keep it moving. Daphne Bryant, born, say, 1723, petitioned the Prince George's County Court on November 23rd, 1756, saying that she and her children, Sarah, Dick, and Hannah, were free but held in slavery by Henry Watson. She was the mother of Sarah, born, say, 1744, Dick, born, say, 1746, Hannah, born, say, 1748, head of an Octoraro, Cecil County household of 11 other free in 1790. Then we got Abigail Bryant, born, say, 1735, was head of a St. Mary's County, Maryland household of 3 other free in 1790. She was the mother of Jeremiah, born about 1755, obtained a certificate of freedom in St. Mary's County on April 30th, 1822. Son of Abigail, age 16 years, dark complexion, born free, and raised in St. Mary's County. All right, let's keep it moving. Then it says another Bryan family. It says Anne Bryan, born, say, 1700, was the servant of Reverend Mr. Alexander Williamson on June 18, 1718, when the Kent County, Maryland court adjudged her child to be begot by a Negro man, ordered her sold for 7 years, and bound her child to her master. She may have been the mother of Anne, born, say, 1730. All right. Anne Bryan, born, say, 1730, was called a spinster white servant on November 20th, 1750, when she confessed to the Kent County, Maryland court that she had a mulatto child by a Negro. She and her child were sold to her master, John Hicks. She for 7 years, and her child unto the age of 31. Perhaps her children were John, head of a North Sassafras, Cecil County household of 1 other free in 1790. Nathaniel, head of a Kent County household of 4 other free in 1800. Charles, head of a Kent County household of 3 other free and 2 slaves in 1800. All right, let's keep it moving. It says other members of the Bryan family were David, born about 1757, a 6-year-old mulatto boy, to be free at 21, listed in the inventory of Baltimore County estate of Christopher Sutton on September 18, 1763. Then we got William, mulatto, head of a Charles County household of 1 other free in 1790 and 4 in St. Mary's County in 1800. Then we got Abraham, head of a Baltimore City household of 8 other free in 1800. Then we got James, head of a Anne Arundel County of 1 other free in 1800. Then we got Amma, head of a Dorchester County household of 3 other free and a slave in 1800. All right, relatives, that was the Bryan family. We did get some pretty good information in this one. Looks like they were in Kent County. We got some of the kids' names, their birth dates. And as you can see, they did spell the Bryant last name a few different ways. So make sure you check all the different spellings if this surname is coming up in your genealogy. All right, relatives, let's keep it moving. Next, we have the Buckley family. So this is going to be a short one. Elizabeth Buckley, born, say, 1732, was a spinster white woman living in Talbot County in June 1752. When the court convicted her of having a mulatto child, the court sold her for 7 years and her child for 31. She may have been the mother of William, head of the Talbot County household of 2 other free in 1800. All right, so that was the Buckley family. Again, not a whole lot of information, a few things there that you might be able to work off of. Now, another odd thing that I keep seeing is they, for some reason, are mentioning the father's names. So that's kind of strange too. I feel like they probably have the names in some record somewhere, but just aren't printing them here. So may have to do some digging on that as well. But if you do come up with these, if you are finding these surnames, usually you should be, not always, but usually you should be able to find the mother and father, and on some of the census records. So hopefully everyone out there is finding that information too. All right, so next we got another short one. This is going to be the Buckwell or Buckle family. It says Susana Buckwell, born, say, 1750, a white spinster, confessed to the Kent County Court in March 1770 that she had a mulatto child by a Negro. The court ordered her sold for 7 years and sold her daughter Frances, or Fanny, to Marmaduke Tilden until the age of 31. She was the mother of Frances, born about 1770. Michael Buckle, head of a Dorchester County household of 7 other free in 1800. All right. So that was the Buckwell Buckle family. As you can see, 2 different ways of spelling it. Again, not a whole bunch of information, but we did get a few gems. So if that surname's showing up in your genealogy, does have some information you can use in here. All right. Next, we got the Buckley family. It says Elizabeth Buckley, born, say, 1710, was a spinster living in Shrewsbury Parish, Kent County, Maryland, on March 21st, 1731-32, when she was convicted of having an illegitimate child, for which she was fined 30 shillings. Peter Cole paid her fine. She may have been the ancestor of. We got Eve, born about 1732, a Negro, taxable in the Nanticoke Hundred, Somerset County household of Wilson Ryder from 1741 to 1759. Called Eve, and then all the different ways they spelled her name. She was about 31 in 1763 when she sued Wilson Ryder for detaining her as a servant. So she was probably the daughter of a white woman. George Bennett and William Giles were her witnesses. She was prosecuted in Somerset County in 1764 for having a child by a Negro slave. On March 17, 1767, she confessed to having another illegitimate child by a free person, for which she paid a double fine of £3 because she refused to identify the father. All right, then we got Minta, born about 1721, a 110-year-old from Baltimore who immigrated to Liberia aboard the schooner Orion in 1831 with John Nichols, a 60-year-old barber. And it says Jane, age 45, and James Nichols, age 18. All right, relatives, real quick. I don't know if anyone out there has a Fold 3 account, but if you do, they have some gems in there. I clicked on this earlier, and it took me basically to the whole. Here, let me click on it. I'll show you, because I have Fold 3. So this takes you. Let me click on here real quick. Then we'll go back. This will take you to the whole history and breakdown of the whole Liberia connection, the setup, everything they wrote down about it. It is all listed here through the American Colonization Society. If you're able to, again, if you have a Fold 3 account, this has got some really good information that I may pass on to somebody like Kuda Mayo possibly, and just to see if he can dig out anything on here that he wants to use for any of his videos. But for anybody else that just wants to read about it, it's got names, the passenger list. I mean, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of names listed in there. So some good information that we may get into later in a later video. All right, let's go back. Okay. Then we got Stephen, born, say, 1733. Then it says Stephen Bully, born, say, 1733, was head of a household of a black male 40 to 50 years old in the 1776 census for Straits Hundred of Dorchester County, with a black woman 30 to 40, a black boy 10 to 16, 3 black boys under 10, a black girl 10 to 16, and a black girl under 10. It says he was head of a Dorchester County household of 5 other free in 1800. He was probably the husband of Fortune Bully, born about 1746, whose son Jessie obtained a certificate of freedom in Dorchester County on September 25th, 1816. They were probably the parents of. Then we got Job, born about 1755, enlisted in the 3rd Maryland Regiment on April 8th, 1782. It says residence Cambridge, age 27 years, 5'7.5" high, stout, black complexion, form of hair, wool. And then if you click on this link, this is actually going to take you to, here, I'll show you. This is going to take you to his muster roll, and it talks about his description on this if you zoom in on it. All right. Let's go back. All right, so we got George, born about 1761, a soldier who enlisted in the Revolution in Dorchester County, appeared in Dorchester County Court at the age of 72 years on April 9th, 1833, and applied for a pension for his services in the Revolution. He stated that he was born in Prince George's County about 1761 and was living in Dorchester County when he entered the service at East New Market for 9 months on March 10th, 1781. His widow, Grace Bewley, aged 59, a free-colored woman, was residing in Baltimore on July 10th, 1855, when she applied for a widow's pension. She stated that they were married on June 18th, 1824, by a minister of the Methodist Episcopal Church in Cambridge, Dorchester County, and her maiden name was Grace Cromwell. Her husband died on August 15th, 1836. Her brother Shadrach Cromwell, aged 80, stated that she died on March 1st, 1872. So let's click this link and see what we got. All right, so it just shows George Bully and Grace Bully. All right. And then we got, Jessie, born about 1766, head of a Dorchester County household of 3 other free in 1800. It says he obtained a certificate of freedom in Dorchester County on September 25th, 1816, of a chestnut color, raised in Dorchester County, and was born free, and is the son of Fortune Bully, who was also born free, aged about 50 years. Then we got Henry, head of a Dorchester County household of 4 other free in 1800. Then it says another member of the family was Ralph, born about 1794, a 48-year-old farmer from Somerset County who immigrated to Liberia aboard the Lafayette in 1832 with Nellie 40, Charlotte 22, Ann 14, Polly Ellen 10, Isaac James 6, and John Thomas Bully. So let's see if we can see them on this listing here. Okay, so let's zoom in. So this is part of what I was talking about. See if we can find them on here. So the last name was Bully. Okay, here they are. So here's the family here, the Bully family. If you can see, you may have to pause this so you can see it, but that's the family. It's got all their ages. Says again the immigration registry, the ship Lafayette from Baltimore. All right. So let's go back. Okay. So again, that was the Bully family. Again, we got some really good information there. If this surname is showing up in your ancestry, you do see where a good portion of their family, well, not a good portion, but some of the people, went off to, Liberia. So, they do have the records. I clicked on the Fold3 account where you can actually go see that. And I just talked about that a few minutes ago. All right, so let's keep it moving. All right, so next we have the Burgess family. All right, let's get into it. Another short one. Marjorie Burgess, born, say, 1778, was a servant of John Smith of Prince George's County on January 26, 1796-97. When she confessed to the court that she had a mulatto child by her master's Negro Caesar, the court ordered that she receive 26 lashes, serve her master a year for the trouble of his house, and order her master to deliver her up to the vestry of St. Paul's Parish at Charlestown when she completed her service to him. Says she was probably the ancestor of Edward, a mulatto who owned 3 pounds 7 shillings to the Frederick County estate of Lawrence Owen, about 1762, perhaps the husband of Anne Pearl Burgess, who was named in the Frederick County will for Father Daniel Pearl. And this surname actually shows up in some of my genealogy as well, and I'll get into that in a later video. Then we got John, a mulatto who owed 8 shillings to the Frederick County estate of Lawrence Owen about 1762. Then we got Mary, born before 1776, head of a Frederick County household of 3, free-colored in 1830. All right, relatives. So that was the Burgess family. Again, not very long, but we did get some birth dates, county they were in. So if this surname is showing up in your genealogy again, there's a few bits of information you can pull out of here. All right, next we have the Burke family. All right, so let's get into it. Ann Burke, born say 1685, admitted in Kent County, Delaware court in May 1707 that she had a mulatto bastard female child by a certain Negro man on John Walker's plantation. She was given 29 lashes, made to stand 2 hours in the pillory in order to serve her master another 6 and 1/2 years. Her daughter was bound to Walker until the age of 31. A year later, in May 1708, her mulatto child, Archibald, born in Walker's house on February 1st, 1704, was bound until the age of 21 years to Walker's children and executors, John and Daniel Walker. Her children were Archibald, born February 1st, 1704, and a daughter born about 1707. Then it says another unrelated Burke family in Maryland was John, born about 1686, a mulatto servant to Miss Elizabeth Hawkins, who was 31 years old on June 10th, 1707, when the Charles County Court ordered that he be set free. Mary Elliott, wife of William Elliott, testified that he had been sold to Henry Hawkins by her former husband, Henry Bronner. And it says their descendants may have been Henry, head of a Queen Anne's County, Maryland household, of one other free in 1790. Then we got Charles, head of a Baltimore City household, 4 other free in 1800. All right, relatives. So that was the Burke family. Kind of a short one on this one as well. But we did get some good birth dates on there, the kids' names when they were born, the county that they lived in as well. So if you have Burke ancestry from the Maryland area, this is a good area to dig into to get some more information out of it. All right. All right, relatives. So the next family that we're going to do is the Burton family. So we got Ann Burton, born say 1708, was living at the house of James Lindo in Manikin Hundred of Somerset Parish on June 11, 1725, when she had a mulatto child. The court sold her child to Lindo for 510 pounds of tobacco, and Lindo posted bond of 20 pounds sterling to return her to the parish to be sold for 7 years. She had a child by a white man named John Rogers in October 1729. The court sold her child to Edward Rowan, and it says she may have been the ancestor of Luke, born say 1745. All right, keep it moving. Luke Burton, born say 1745, and his wife Patience, registered on the May 10th, 1769 birth of their mulatto son, James, at St. George's Protestant Episcopal Church, Indian River 100, Sussex County, Delaware. They were the parents of James, born May 10, 1769. Joseph, head of a Newcastle County, Delaware household of 8 other free in 1800. Peter, head of a Lewis and Rehoboth 100, Sussex County household of 6 other free in 1800. Then we got William, colored, head of a Newcastle County household of 7 other free in 1810. All right. So that was the Burton family. And of course, you can see all the different spellings that we have in here. We did get some good county names, the dates the kids were born. So if this surname showing up again in the genealogy, there's some good info in here. All right. And this will probably be the last family name that we'll do for today. So let's get into it. It's going to be the Butcher family. All right. So we got Robert Butcher, born, say, 1670, was called Robert Butchery Negro of Great Chop Tank 100 on September 2nd, 1690, when the Dorchester County, Maryland court ordered him to pay a fine of 500 pounds of tobacco for begetting an illegitimate child by Elizabeth Cobbin. It says an indentured servant of Andrew Gray. The court also ordered him to pay Gray 800 pounds of tobacco for the nursing of the child. Andrew Gray Jr. and Philip Pitt were his securities to pay for the tuition and bringing up of the child. Elizabeth Cobbin received 25 lashes. In February 1691-92, he was accused of stealing 9 deerskins, 3 new match coats, and other items valued at 900 pounds of tobacco from Thomas Wells, but was found not guilty. He admitted in February 1792-93 that he owed John Tiley of Talbot County for 8 well-dressed deerskins. He recorded his earmark in adjoining Kent County, Delaware on February 13, 1692-93. It says he was sued in Kent County by Hugh Durborough on August 11, 1713. In August of 1714, he testified that James Dean had concealed him to kill Timothy Hanson and burn his house. In November 1718, he confessed to the charge of battery and was ordered to be flayed and pay a 15-shilling fine. He was sued by Griffin Jones about 1723 and by John Bland in August 1723. He was taxable in Duck Creek 100, Kent County in 1726, and his name was crossed off the Little Turtle Creek 100 list in 1727, when he was listed with Robert Wood, Julius Caesar, Thomas Consular, William Beckett, Winslow Driggers, Jacob Miller, Richard Pullen, and Daniel Francisco. He called himself a yeoman in his July 26, 1722 Kent County will, which was proved February 14, 1731. He left his son Robert a shilling, left Phyllis Asco, no relation stated, a cow, calf, pewter plates, furniture, and one of his 3 gold rings, and divided the remainder of his estate between his wife Susana and son-in-law Richard Pulling. His children were Hannah, born, say, 1693, Robert, born, say, 1695, the unnamed wife of Richard Pulling. All right, so it says Hannah Butcher, born, say, 1693, was convicted of felony by the Kent County Court of Quarter Sessions on August 10, 1714. She was publicly whipped, made to wear a Roman T, and ordered to pay the owner, Timothy Hanson, fourfold the 10-shilling value of the goods. She may have been the mother of Susana, born, say, 1722. Elizabeth, born, say, 1725, indicted by Kent County Court in May 1743 for having an illegitimate female child, with which she charged to William Gonsola, or a consular. In November 1748, she charged George Hilton of Duck Creek County 100 laborer with being the father of another illegitimate child. Sarah Butcher was a witness. Perhaps this or a second case against Hilton was the one he submitted to in November 1752. Then it shows a court case. Next, we got Robert Butcher, born, say, 1695, was called Robert Butcher Jr. in Kent County, Delaware Court on August 11, 1713, when he and Thomas Consular were fined 15 shillings for being deficient on the highways. He was called Robert Butcher ye Younger on May 15, 1716, when the Kent County Court of Sessions convicted him of having an illegitimate child by Susana Stevens. His suit against John Harding was dismissed in May 1727. He was called Robert Butcher Jr. when he was taxable in Little Creek 100, Kent County, in 1729. He was called the administrator of Robert Butcher in May 1732 when Kofi Hilton and Richard Pullen brought separate suits against him in Kent County Court. Julius Caesar sued him in court as the administrator of Robert Butcher, claiming that he had paid Robert 10 pounds for 2 steers which had not been delivered. Julius withdrew the case in May 1733, and Robert sued Julius in August 1733, but the case was agreed in November that year. His November 14, 1733 Kent County will proved December 6, 1733, named his wife Sarah, daughter of Thomas Consular, and left 190 acres of land to his sons, Moses, Benjamin, Robert, Consula, and Thomas. And it says his children were Moses, born, say, 1715, taxable in Little Creek 100 from 1740 to 1748, sued by Hugh Durborough for debt in Kent County in May 1742 and in December 1743. He admitted he owed Cornelius Empson 8 pounds. He died before September 12, 1749, when his brother Robert was appointed administrator of his Kent County estate. Then we got Benjamin, born, say, 1718. Then we got Robert, born, say, 1720, taxable in Little Creek 100 from 1745 to 1748. Sued Moses Butcher in Kent County Court in November 1748. He was appointed administrator of the estate of his brother Moses on September 12, 1749. We got Consula, born, say, 1722. We got Thomas, born, say, 1723. Sued James Maxwell for debt in Kent County Court in May 1744. He was taxable in Little Creek 100 from 1754 to 1756. All right, let's keep it moving. Susana Butcher, born, say, 1722, was a mulatto, free, and single woman who declared in Kent County Court on March 26, 1743, that the base-born mulatto female child which was begotten on her body was by Negro Jack, who had been the slave of Miss Rachel Collins and was then the slave of Mr. James Tybott. And let's see here. It says in 1743, Joseph Clayton was allowed 13 shillings for his maintenance. She may have been the mother of Martha, born, say, 1743, a free mulatto, indicted by the Kent County Court in August 1771 for having an illegitimate child. All right, let's keep it moving. Next, we got Consula Butcher. Born, say, 1720, called Selah Butcher, was taxable in Little Creek 100, Kent County from 1752 to 1780. Says administration on his Kent County estate was granted to Thomas Butcher, his next of kin, in 1795 with Jessie Dean surety. He may have been the father of, we got Thomas, born, say, 1750, taxable in Little Creek 100 from 1773 to 1776, and Duck Creek 100 from 1777 to 1782, also in Dover 100 in 1782, a Negro taxable in Little Creek 100 from 1782 to 1785, taxable in Dover 100 in 1785, a mulatto taxable in Little Creek 100 in 1797, taxable on an acre in a log house in 1798. Then it says on April 14th, 1771, he admitted in Kent County Court that he owed Archibald Douglas 129 pounds. And he witnessed the May 11, 1776 Little Creek 100 Kent County will of Samuel Whitman. In November 1792, Mary, Cynthia, and Elizabeth Ridgway charged him in Kent County Court with assaulting them. Jessie Dean was his surety. He was head of a Little Creek 100 household of 8 other free in 1800 and 6 free colored in 1820. All right, let's keep it moving. Then it says other members of the family were Richard Butcherly, born, say, 1712, held as a servant by John Stevens of Dorchester County. Contrary to law in August 1733, the court ordered him set free. We got Peter Butcherly, born, say, 1714, servant of Bartholomew Nichols. In November 1733, when the Dorchester County Court required Nichols to pay security for 10 pounds, not to transport him outside the province. Then we got John, born, say, 1720, taxable in the upper part of Duck Creek 100 from 1741 to 1743. His inventory dated February 19, 1762, named his wife Sarah. Next, we got Caesar, born, say, 1740, taxable in Little Creek 100 in 1761. Then we got Robert, say, 1750, taxable in Little Creek 100 from 1772 to 1781, and Duck Creek 100 in 1785, and a delinquent murder kill taxable in 1787. Perhaps the Robert Butcher, who was a free head of a Queen Anne's County, Maryland household of 4 other free in 1790, and the Kent County, Maryland household of 7 other free in 1800. All right, next we got Jacob, born, say, 1752, taxable in Little Creek 100 from 1776 to 1780, died before March 23rd, 1792, when George Fraser was granted administration on his Kent County estate. He was apparently the father of Susana Butcher, since Fraser wrote a letter saying he was too sick to take the inventory on the appointed day and that her father owes me nothing. All right, keep it moving. We got James, a Negro, taxable at Little Creek 100 from 1786 to 1789, also listed as a free Negro, and Dover 100 from 1789 to 1794. He was called a Negro when Robert Hall and Caleb Sipple were granted administration on his estate on August 11th, 1808 on $500 bond. All right. Next, we got Rachel, a free Negro, taxable on a cow in Dover 100, but stuck off the list in 1797. All right. Next, we got Moses, born, say, 1758, taxable in Little Creek 100 from 1779 to 1787, listed as a free Negro, starting in 1781. Head of a Montgomery County, Pennsylvania household of 5 other free in 1790. Then we got another Moses born before 1776, a free Negro, taxable in over 100, Kent County, on 4 acres of land in 1797, head of a household of 4 other free colored in 1820. All right, next we got William Sr., born, say, 1760, enlisted in the Revolution on April 24th, 1777, and was listed in the muster of the Independent Company of Foot Race for the safeguard of the persons residing near the town of Lewis and the coast of Delaware Bay. Commanded by Captain William Perry, he was a mulatto taxable on 2 horses in Kent County in 1797. All right, keep it moving. Next, we got Peter, head of a Little Creek 100, Kent County household of 10 other free in 1800. Next, we got James, born in 1776 to 1794, head of a Duck Creek 100 household of 5 free colored, with 1 woman over 45 years old in 1820. And we got Henry, head of a Newcastle County household of 2 free colored in 1820. Next, we got John, head of a Newcastle County household of 6 free colored in 1820. Then we got Whittington, head of a Newcastle County household of 2 free colored in 1820. And then we got Eli, head of a Little Creek 100, Kent County household of 1 free colored in 1820. All right, and then it says another unrelated Butcher family. We got Susana Butcher, born, say, 1734, the servant of Thomas Selman, was ordered by the Anne Arundel County Court in June 1754 to serve 7 years for having a mulatto child. The court ordered her child sold to Selman until the age of 31 for 500 pounds of tobacco. She was identical to Susana Butcher, the white servant of Thomas Selman, who had an illegitimate mulatto child named Rachel by a Negro in Baltimore County before March 1759. She was the mother of, and it says Rachel, born about 1759. Then we got Fanny, head of a Baltimore City household of 3 other free in 1810. All right, relatives, so that was the Butcher family. Excuse me. And as you can see here, this was a pretty lengthy one here, so we got a lot of good information. We got counties, we got kids' names, parents' names, dates, birth. All that was listed in this, all right? So let me stop screen sharing real quick. All right, relatives, so as you can see, as we were going through that, there are some pretty important links that you can click on as you're looking at this information. So I definitely would advise looking at it, because it's definitely going to help out with showing some actual documentation that was taken back then. But as always, I appreciate every single one of you for taking time out to watch the videos. One love to everybody out there, and I will see you all next time. Later.